Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praises to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray that the Most High blesses this lesson this afternoon, gives more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, in order to understand the events that are currently happening on the earth, so we get a much better understanding of things that are soon to come on the earth. Rather than I'm just looking at what's going on, looking at some of these comments, and just seeing how the enemy is working. As the Most High gives us more knowledge and understanding, it's very easy to see how the enemy, the wicked ones, are attempting to change the narrative. Well, and that's to be expected, considering the fact that they are being exposed to having no knowledge and understanding. They're being exposed to being complicit with the Church of Mahan, and we know also that when they make these covenants with the priests of Mahan, they cannot acknowledge the truth. So when you look at a lot of these comments that are coming up, and they're just pretty much regurgitating the same things, such as only Deuteronomy 28:68 can only mean coming from Africa to here, or that the homeland is over there in Israel, or that America is not our homeland, but they give absolutely no scriptural evidence. They give no historical evidence to refute anything that is being said here. They come up with absolutely nothing. That just proves the fact that there's a bunch of demons that are just running around, and they're losing their power. And see, they're used to be able to just say things, and we don't question them. Now they say things, and we don't even acknowledge them, because we know what's going on now. What is going on right now is what we've read about in Revelation chapter 18 at the beginning. Revelation 18, and let's take a look at 4. Let's start at 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. So the vast majority of the world has been made rich working with, Babylon, working with, all of her churches, all of the, her ways of thinking, the way she's ran the world. But now, Most High stopped all that. So now take a look at what's going on in number 4, because this is what's happening right now with the shutdown, and vast majority of people being in their homes, being separated. People are being separated from Babylon. It says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. See, the Most High has always been about separation. The Most High is a separatist. He separates his people from everyone else. He separated our lands by the oceans from everyone else. So when they're talking about, and that's what we're talking about today, coming together, working together, we're all in this together. That goes exactly against what the Most High has set up. He is separated people from house to house. He separated people from neighborhood to neighborhood. The whole thing, the whole church and that whole belief system that was brought about teaching that we all need to come together and work together has been taken down, because that's not what the Most High teaches. That's not what he believes in, because he knows that that's all just a bunch of lip service. And I'm going to show you that that's exactly what's been going on. It's just a bunch of lip service. They have never intended for us to live together harmoniously, equally. It's always been about, yeah, we'll come together and they'll give you that lip service, but it's always about the Hebrews being at the bottom, the Israelites being at the bottom, the chosen seed being at the bottom. And I'm going to show you that that's exactly how it's been since the times of Egypt and when we went into a captivity in Egypt. They did that game back then, and they're doing it again today. So I'm cracking up looking at these people, these pastors who have been doing their commercials. TD Jakes, Joel Osteen, a couple of them I've seen about hope and getting through this and working together and everyone coming together, and leaning on each other and helping out one another. They always, they play a good game. I said they're just running game though. They're just saying whatever it is, to try to get us to come back to them. We're at that point now where we are, like when we left, and after we left Egypt the first time, they realized that they wanted us to come back. They wanted us to be their slaves again. So now they're playing that whole card again. They're trying to call us back. They're trying to telling us, hey, you guys have been gone for 3 days. You worship your God. Now come back to Egypt and be our slaves again. That's what you see. That's what I see when I'm looking at these commercials about let's all work together. I said, you guys had your opportunity to treat us right. You had your opportunity to make things correct, and you never did it. And now the Most High is separating us from you. That's what's going on right now. Now let's take a look at Revelation 18, and we'll go to 5 now. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. So that's where we're at right now, that holding pattern. But then look at 6, just like what I talked about yesterday. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. And the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. So in the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. The cup that she gave to us, the destruction, the stealing, the taking of everything that belongs to us, Most High says, give to her double. So as you can see right now, we're in that 4. We're in that verse 4 right now. He's separating us. Why is he separating us? Because now all of her sins have reached unto heaven. I'm going to show you the same playbook about, playing at our heartstrings, telling us that we can all be equal and we can all come together. And when I hear people say that, that's all that I hear now. I want things to go back to normal. All I hear is, when I hear I want things to go back to normal, is I want you Negroes, I want all of you people, you Israelites, I want all the people who are aligned with the Israelites to be back at the bottom. I want all you Hebrews to be my slaves again. And whenever I hear that, and I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they're talking about things going back to normal, and I said, oh, you mean by normal, you mean us back into slavery, us back at the bottom? And he's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, well, that's exactly how it's been. And he's like, no, you guys have, and see, that's the whole thing. When you are not even going to admit the fact that we've been at the bottom, and that the whole society has kept, all of us Hebrews. And I said, our Hebrews are scattered all over the place. So the Most High has made it so if you look like another nation, you still went through we were at the bottom. So there's other people that are our people that are scattered about. When we were going through our curses, they were going through curses too. Because, like, it's just certain people, it seemed like they always had bad luck. It seemed like they were always at the bottom, even though they didn't look exactly like us. But the Most High knew that they were our people, and he punished them just as he was punishing us. But see, now he's awakening our people, and we're like, oh no, we're not down with going back to the way things were before. And the Most High is making it that way as well. He's showing the world that even when you hear them in CNN and these different MSNBC, they're talking about, oh, we're going to reopen the economy, we're going to restart things. But then they couple that with, well, things are never going to be the way they were before. There's going to be changes that are going, things are never going to be like you can go back to the mall, go back to the stores, go to restaurants. They're like, there's going to be a new normal. Well, the new normal Messiah's talking about is the reversal of the people that are at the head and putting them at the tail, and the ones that were the tail that he's going to put at the head. The Gentiles will not have anything to do with how everything's going to go, how it's going to be going forward. even though they would love for you to think that's the way it's going to be, that the Gentiles are going to be just deciding how everything's going to go going forward, and that's not the case. So all you people who are yearning for that return, you can forget about that. Now, like I said, these are some of their little things that they kind of push. Let's stand together. Doing good togethers. COVID-19 resources. They're all about, everything's about coming together. So you'll see these commercials about coming together. I've been seeing quite a few of them lately. One world together at home. Oh, global citizens. That sounds beautiful. That sounds so nice. Yeah, you caught us with that the last time. We're not falling for that one again. We're not falling for that garbage anymore. So you mean like we go back to the way things were with, Esau and the Gentiles on top and us at the bottom doing all the work, not receiving the pay, not receiving the benefits. Is that what you guys want again? You want you guys back at the top so you guys can have your vacations, enjoy all your money, and we can be struggling paycheck to paycheck still? That's what you guys mean by going back to normal, because that's what normal was. That's what normal has been for the last few thousand years. Us at the bottom, us doing everything for you, you guys glorifying yourselves at the top. And then to try to make it seem like we're all in this together, they had to switch the whole theme a couple weeks ago to the fact that it was like whites and Asians catching it, and then all of a sudden it's so-called black people catching the virus even more than everybody else. So that's just pulling at your strings again to try to get you to come back to them, come back to Egypt and be their slaves once again. That's what they want. That's what they've been wanting. So if they make it seem like you're going through the same things that they're going through, then we'll rush to go back to them, pray to them, pray to their God, and diminish our strength and our numbers. That's why they do these kinds of things, so that then our people, and hey, 2/3 of our people will go right back to them, right back to Egypt, and pray with the Gentiles, pray with Edomites and the Gentiles, for our downfall. And that's been working before, but it's not going to work again. Not with people who are awake now. But here, after, at first, most Philly coronavirus patients were white, but the new cases are now primarily African Americans. Yeah, see, they're slick. They're slick, and when you hear certain things, you have to learn how to just kind of, look at it through spiritual eyes. I had a comment from some woman earlier on the last video, and it was like, well, this information is not important. We need to work on coming on one accord. Now, first of all, like I told her, who is she to say what's important and what's not? Who is she to say, what we should be concentrating on and what we shouldn't be concentrating on? If the Most High is bringing this information out, apparently He thinks it's important. So now we should listen to her, who she says that, oh, this isn't important, or should we listen to the Most High, who's bringing this information out? See, this is that whole thing with separating from Babylon in Revelation 18:4. We've already heard Babylon's breakdowns of everything. We've already heard the church's breakdown of everything. Now the Most High is bringing out more knowledge and understanding. So now we need to listen to that. So now we can make the decision. Hey, am I going to follow Babylon, what we've been listening to the whole time, the 80 books only and not the growing? Or am I going to listen to this other information of, all these different books and how they all correlate and they bring more knowledge and understanding and more clarity to everything? So it sounds great because they said so we can all be on one accord. I'm never going to be on one accord with someone who only reads one book. See, coming on one accord is what the Gentiles have been doing. They're like, we can come on one accord as long as we're on top and you're at the bottom. That's the one accord that this world has been talking about. You see that? So it sounds great when talk about coming on one accord, but Israel's not going to come on one accord only following the 80 books that the Gentiles have ordained. I still haven't seen one video from absolutely anyone trying to, prove that the Most High ordained 80 books. See, they just ignore that, but then they'll come on my channel and say, well, Ecclesiastes 12:12 says this, don't read any other books. I said, well, before you can even use that, why don't you prove The Most High ordained 80 books, 80 books only. See, they won't do that part, but they'll still continue with their same tactics because they're in cahoots with the with the priests of Mahan. Because see, they will never admit the truth. They will just continue with the same lies they've been doing the exact same at the same time. So except when I see people just come up with just one or two or three verses saying the same thing, I just gonna block them because most of them there's a lot of just a lot of fake accounts, a lot of demons out there. I said I don't have time for that. I said you can go back to one of those other camp stations and you can just go with the 80 books only and just continue over there. There's no need to come over here and run your mouth. I said because you have nothing over here. We have nothing to talk about. Because like, so we're going to get into some other books right now. We're going to get into the book of Jasher right now, talking about what they did to us in Egypt, which is not in the Bible. But you can see the exact same thing happening today with, hey, let's all come together. So I said, so some of the comments, I said, you just have to kind of look at them through spiritual eyes. Anytime you talk about coming, all of us coming together, it always means come back, we can come back together, we can live together, but you're going to be at the bottom. So long as you like being at the bottom, come on over. If you think you're going to be equal with Esau and the Gentiles, you're sadly mistaken. They've had thousands of years to right their wrongs, to admit to their faults, and they still don't. All the way till today, even as they see their entire society collapsing, they still won't admit that they're wrong. They'll still pull out John 3:16. They'll still pull out just Paul, and they think they can still break things down, even while everything is falling apart around them. So I'm sure when the Most High starts sending these rocks down, and there's these rocks and these asteroids falling all over the place around them, they'll still be crying, pulling on you, actually grabbing or gravitating to John 3:16. They'll still be gravitating to white Jesus all the way till the end, even as they see everything falling apart around them, because they're still doing the same thing even to today. Yeah, you said, hey, we can all come together, be on one accord, as long as we all believe this. See, a lot of people will sit there and talk mess, even within our own community. They'll sit there and say, well, they'll talk mess about the churches, they'll talk mess about the Catholic Church, they'll talk mess about the Christian Church, but you still are going to gravitate to 80 books only. So you're still a Christian. You're a Catholic. Because the only people that said 80 books are Catholics. And they're not even saying that right now because those places are closed. But see, now we're going to get into another book that's going to explain how Dum Diversus, that proclamation, and the Catholic Church is really Egypt, is really Babylon. Because the slavery, the first time we went through it was over here in Egypt, was in Egypt. Okay. And then it was proclaimed again the second time through Dum Diversus and through the Spaniards, and it continued through all these other European nations. It wasn't just Spain. I said there was the Dutch. I said there was the French. I said there was plenty of other people. There's Arabs. I said all those the three parts. They say they took their turns putting us into slavery, and they're gonna make sure Most High knows who did what, and the Most High is gonna come, and He's going to be definitely taking vengeance and recompense on those people. So the Most High knows exactly who's who. And He's the one that's going to be bringing recompense. So, when they talk about coming together, working together, being one, they mean being one under white Jesus, under good times Jesus. And the good times Jesus means that the Gentiles and the Edomites get to be on top and that we get to be on bottom. So if you're down with that, go ahead and go pray with them. So, because that's exactly what you're going to get, Hebrews. You're going to get put right back at the bottom. You're going to be at the bottom again. You're going to be the ones that are going to be pulled over by the police. You're going to be the ones that are going to be, targeted. You're going to be the ones that are going to be put in jail without, having any evidence. You're the ones that are going to be working the long hours for no pay. You're the ones working, again, the long hours, low pay, and no benefits. If that's what you want, go pray with them, because that's exactly what they're going to give to you. See, and when they sit there and when they tell you one thing, they say, "Hey, let's all come together under one accord." What does that mean? Well, just think about how things were. Think how things are in the society, how bad things have been, and how the fact that they don't acknowledge anything. That should tell you all you need to know. Now let's talk about this whole one accord thing right now. So, for we know in part and we prophesy in part. We're going to go back and look at a little bit of history in the book of Jasher. And you're going to see the same tricks that they're doing today, they did back then. Because, see, when you get into this truth, people are like, oh, they know who we are. They get all excited because they think, oh, someone will say something and they'll put something in a in a song, or they'll put something in a movie. Oh, they know who we are. Can you believe that? Of course they know who you are. That's why they set up all these different laws and these different pitfalls for our people, because they know exactly who we are. The only one that forgot who we are was us. All right, so we're going to read. I didn't take pictures of all of this because it's actually quite a bit, but I'm going to read some of Jasher, and it's chapter 65 in my Sefer. You can look it up, but at least if you see the start of 65, then you can find it in one of your books, and then at least then you'll know what we're reading at, okay? So this is about, at the top of the 65, gives a little synopsis of what's going to be going on. It says, the elders of Mizraim conspire with Pharaoh and cunningly bring Israel into bondage to them. Being afraid of their power, they afflict them in order to lessen the number of the children of Israel. Now, this is what they've been doing. They know about our power. They know how strong we are. So they did everything they could to keep us away from our power. No different than today. They know who we are. They don't want us to get strength again. So what do? They'll say things like, hey, come back over here with us. Let's all be on one accord over here. Come over here and pray to my God. Come over here and pray against your power. Let's come over here with us and pray against your people. You see? Same thing. They do the same thing back then, and they're doing it right now. All right? All right, so let's go. And it came to pass after these things that all the counselors of Pharaoh, king of Mizraim, and all the elders of Mizraim assembled and came before the king and bowed down to the ground. And they sat before him. And the counselors and elders of Mizraim spoke unto the king, saying, behold, the people of the children of Israel is greater and mightier than we are. And you know all the evil which they did to us in the road when we returned from battle. And you have also seen their strong power, for this power is unto them from their fathers. For but a few men stood up against a people numerous as the sand, and smote them at the edge of the sword, and of themselves not one has fallen. So that if they had been numerous, they would then have utterly destroyed them. Now, therefore, give us counsel what to do with them, until we gradually destroy them from amongst us, lest they become too numerous for us in the land. For if the children of Israel should increase in the land, they will become an obstacle to us. And if any war should happen to take place, they with their great strength will join our enemy against us, and fight against us, destroy us from the land, and go away from it. Now, see, this also goes with a story that Lisa Cabrera did about the census, and how we've always been just numbered as like 13%. They've always casted us as a minority. They're just mind tricks again, making it seem like we're a small amount of people when we know that we're not. And that, how they put all these different other groups as white in order to inflate their numbers. That goes all the way back to this time here in Egypt. Nothing new. They had to make us, play with our minds, make us think that we were the minorities when we are the majorities. We are the ones that make babies like crazy. We are the ones that can, have babies, just by looking at our women. These other nations have, struggle procreating. So how is it possible that we've always been stuck at 13%? But this is the same thing that was going on back then is going on right now. All right, so let's continue. For if the children of Israel shall be increased in the land, they will become an obstacle to us. And if any war should happen to take place, they with their great strength will join our enemy against us, and fight against us, destroy us from the land, and go away from it. So the king answered the elders of Mizraim and said unto them, This is the plan advised against Israel, from which we will not depart. Behold, in the land of Pithom and Ramses, cities unfortified against battle, it behooves you and us to build them and to fortify them. Now, therefore, go you also and act cunningly toward them, and proclaim a voice in Mizraim and in Goshen, at the command of the king, saying, All ye men of Mizraim, Goshen, Pathrock, and all their inhabitants, the king has commanded us to build Pithom and Ramses, and to fortify them for battle. Who amongst you, okay, of all Mizraim, of the children of Israel, and of all the inhabitants of the cities, are willing to build with us? So you come build with us. Come and let's all be one. Let's work together. Okay. Shall each have his wages given to him daily at the king's order. So go you first, okay, and do cunningly, and gather yourselves and come to Pithom and Ramses to build. And while you are building, cause a proclamation of this kind be made throughout Mizraim every day at the command of the king. So they're gonna. Well, I'll keep going. And when some of the children of Israel shall come to build with you, you shall give them their wages daily for a few days. So at first they're going to pay you, for showing up for work. All right. 13. And after they shall have built with you for their daily hire, drag yourselves away from them daily, one by one in secret. And then you shall rise up and become their taskmasters and officers, and you shall leave them afterward to build without wages. And should they refuse, then force them with all your might to build. So it's all a trick. Hey, we're all going to come together. We're all going to work together. But then as the Hebrews start to show up, then these other nations, these Egyptians and other people, will pull themselves away. So then the Hebrews are now doing all the work by themselves. Is that not like what is going on right now? Is that not how they built up this entire country? We're all going to be, well, at first they were more straightforward about how they hated us. So now they got to kind of be slick with it. So now there's these plagues coming, and it's all, hey, let's all come together. We can rebuild everything together. We can work together against your own self-interest. That's exactly what's going on right here. And then later on, those people who were working for them then become their taskmasters. Just like today, we do all the work, and then they get all the positions of management, and they get to tell us what to do. Nothing new. Or they'll put some coon or some sellout in a position, but all he is just a little figurehead. He still answers to Esau and the Gentiles. They do that kind of stuff all the time. All right. Let's go to 13 now. Hold on. No, we're going to now to 14. So we're in 65:14. And if you do this, it will be well with us to strengthen our land against the children of Israel. For on account of the fatigue of the building and the work, the children of Israel will decrease, because you will deprive them from their women day by day. And see, that's another thing. That's why they pushed this whole thing where, they were trying to deprive us of our women. Because they know that, our men and women when they come together, I said, are going to procreate. I said they're going to make strong, a strong generation. And that's all part of this whole thing too, with keeping us away from our women. Why do you think like I said, people can get upset about the whole one man, one woman thing, but that's exactly another part of the way from them keeping us away from our women. And then they raise up the Gentile men, and then our women see the money. They see the the lifestyles they could live here by marrying a Gentile or one of these other men, and that's another way of depriving. That's how they do it now, for depriving our men and women from being with each other. That's all part of it too. So this kind of stuff, they've been trying to deprive us Hebrew men from our Hebrew women since the times of the Egyptians. They couldn't do it the same way back then, so they do other things. They know that it's a sin for our people to be going with the other nations, especially our women, but they make it so that, hey, you can marry anybody that you love, or they can marry anybody who can be a good provider, as they like to say. And the ones who are going to be providing are going to be these taskmasters, the people that are going to put over our people. And then a lot of our women are going to see those taskmasters and the ones that, that have been put above our men, and they're going to be attracted to the lifestyles that they could live. So therefore, that's another way of depriving our men and women from being with one another. And this is from the times of the Egyptians. All right, so let's continue. Let's see here. 15. And all the elders of Mizraim heard the counsel of the king, and the counsel seemed good in their eyes, and in the eyes of the servants of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of the Mizraim. And they did according to the word of the king. And all the servants went away from the king. And they caused a proclamation to be made in all Mizraim, okay, in Tachpanec and in Goshen, and in all the cities which surrounded Mizraim, saying, You have been, you have seen what the children of Esau and Ishmael did to us, who came to war against us and wished to destroy us. Now, therefore, the king commanded us to fortify the land, to build the cities of Pithom and Ramses, and to fortify them for battle, if they should again come against us. Whosoever of you from all Mizraim and from the children of Israel will come to build with us, he shall have his daily wages given by the king, as his command is unto us. And when Mizraim and all the children of Israel heard that all of the servants of Pharaoh had spoken, there came from the Mizraim and the children of Israel to build with the servants of Pharaoh, Pithom and Ramses. But none of the children of Levi came with their brethren to build. So the Levites, they didn't come. They didn't go. They said, hell no, we're not doing that. And that's kind of like what's going on right now. Remember now, like, the Levites were the ones that were the closest to the Most High. They were the priests. They were the ones that were supposed to actually know more and more things. So therefore, they probably could already see what was going on. And they're like, oh, hell no. So now we're kind of acting like the Levites today by giving more knowledge and understanding, giving more spiritual understanding. And then we now are the ones that are sitting on the sidelines like, oh, hell no, we're not going to go back over there and pray with you guys. We're not going to be going over there and worshiping what you guys worship. We're not going to be going there following the things that these Gentiles have set up. So the same things that were happening back then, the Levites had more knowledge and understanding. Now today we got a group of people who are like taking the same direction, same understanding as the Levites, and we're like, oh, hell no, we're not doing that. We can see right through this plan, and that's what's happening even right now. So let's continue with 21. And all the servants of Pharaoh and his princes came at first with deceit to build with all of Israel as daily hired laborers, and they gave to Israel their daily hire at the beginning. And the servants of Pharaoh built with all of Israel and were employed in that work with Israel for a month. And at the end of the month, all the servants of Pharaoh began to withdraw secretly from the people of Israel daily. And Israel went on with the work at that time. But they then received their daily hire, because some of the men of Mizraim were yet carrying on the work with Israel at that time. Therefore, the Mizraim gave Israel their hire in those days, in order that they, the Mizraim, their fellow workmen, might also take the pay for their labor. And at the end of a year and 4 months, all of Mizraim had withdrawn from the children of Israel, so that the children of Israel were left alone, engaged in the work. So it took about a year and 4 months, but by that time, all of the Egyptians were not doing that daily labor anymore. Only the Israelites. I'll check the part out, okay? And after all the Mizraim had withdrawn from the children of Israel, they returned and became oppressors and officers over them. And some of them stood over the children of Israel as taskmasters, to receive from them all that they gave them from the pay of their labor. So they now, these other nations, these Egyptians, as well as I'm sure other people, were now put in these positions. They're the managers, the taskmasters, the officers. Just like today, we do all the work. They get all the praise. They do all the work. Well, sorry, we do all the work, and we get none of the benefits. We do all the work, and we are kept away from our women. And when we didn't want to do the work anymore, they just changed society up and made it so that as long as you're a woman and you're a single mom, they'll give you money. But if there's a man in the house, they won't give you anything. And like I said, all goes back to Egypt. They did the same thing to keep us away, men and women, away from one another. See, very ingenious. All right, so let's continue with 27. And the Mizraim did in this manner to the children of Israel day by day, in order to afflict in their work. And all the children of Israel were alone, engaged in the labor. And the Mizraim refrained from giving any pay to the children of Israel from that time forward. So they weren't paying them; they were slaves. Just like the Dum Diversas in 1452, I think, said that anyone who wasn't pretty much in their religion could be made into a slave to do manual labor, and then they got to be the taskmasters. So there's your Egypt again. Everybody keeps on saying, "Well, during 2868, that's what happened here in America." That started in 1452 with Dum Diversas. They did that when they got over here to the Hebrews, and they've been doing it ever since. They did it over there in the three parts, and they did it over here as well. Okay. 29. And when some of the men of Israel refused to work on account of the wages not being given to them, then the exactors and the servants of Pharaoh oppressed them and smote them with heavy blows, and made them return by force to labor with their brethren. Thus did all the Mizraim unto the children of Israel all the days. And all the children of Israel were greatly afraid of the Mizraim in this matter. And all the children of Israel returned and worked alone without pay. And the children of Israel built Pithom and Ramses, and all the children of Israel did the work, some making bricks and some building. Okay, and the children of Israel built and fortified all the land of Mizraim and its walls. And the children of Israel were engaged in work for many years, until the time came when Yahweh remembered them and brought them out of Mizraim. That's exactly what's going on right now. Yahweh is remembering us. We've been going through all of these plights for all these hundreds and hundreds of years. And now the Most High has brought the grind to a halt. He brought the mill to a halt. And that's what's going on right now. Most of the other nations are slowly grasping the fact that this is much bigger than what they ever thought it was going to be. At first, the Most High is the one that shut everything down. He's the one that controls the right hand and the left hand. So the decisions that they're making are things that the Most High is instructing them to do. Okay? Let's continue here. 32. But the children of Levi were not employed in the work, with their brethren of Israel, from the beginning unto the day of their going forth from Mizraim. So Levites knew better, and they didn't even take part in any of that, and no one ever made them. Okay? For all the children of Levi knew that the Mizraim had spoken all these words with deceit to Israel. Therefore the children of Levi refrained from approaching to the work with their brethren. So they say, like I said, they already know. They could already see what was going on. And just like today, you got a group of people who've now, we can see the deceit of the Gentiles through the 80 books only, through not allowing people to read anything else. We can see the deceit of, hiding the fact that these were our lands, hiding the fact of how, the end times is going to play out. And the ones who have, went with the other nations, says they can't deviate from their game plan. So they say the same things over and over again. They never provide any proof. This just shows you that they have not been given the knowledge and understanding. All right, so let's continue. Verse 34. And the Mizraim did not direct their attention to make the children of Levi work afterward, since they had not been with their brethren at the beginning. Therefore the Mizraim left them alone. And the hands of the men of Mizraim were directed with continued severity against the children of Israel in that work. And the Mizraim made the children of Israel work with rigor. And the Mizraim embittered the lives of the children of Israel with hard work, in mortar and bricks, and also in all manner of work in the field. And the children of Israel called Melol, the king of Mizraim, Meror, king of Mizraim. Because of his days, the Mizraim had embittered the lives with all manner of work. And all the work wherein the Mizraim made the children of Israel labor, they exacted with rigor, in order to afflict the children of Israel. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew. And Mizraim were grieved because of the children of Israel. And that happened. That's still going on even to today. Even by all the death and destruction, all the things that they've done to us, we still have increased our numbers. We still are here. We still are growing. So now you should understand why they always are trying to say, hey, let's all come together. You guys can come on over here. We'll work together. We'll treat you equally. And all the way back in the times of Egypt, that was all a lie. Fast forward to today. Most High has shut down everything. He's telling his people, come out of her, my people, because her sins have now reached up to the heavens. So they know that they're in for one hell of a ride coming real soon. They know that that the destruction is on its way. And they're saying, hey, why don't you guys come back over here? We're all in this together. We can work through this together. The ones who are wise, like the Levites, know to stay away from all that mess. We know to pray to the Most High, not against our own, our own self-interest. We know to pray for the Most High to restore our lands, restore our people, thank Him for that, and pray against our enemies. There's nothing wrong with except righteous anger and wanting to be restored and wanting things to be put back to the way things were before. So that story right there is to let you know why we know in part. We prophesy in part. That's why I know that Babylon is not America. Babylon started with the abominable church. They're the ones that were making all these declarations, and they were the ones that were behind the scenes, executing all these different things, all these different events against our people. And they were getting worshiped by putting our people in bondage. The other nations have been happy that we were put in bondage. And that's why the abominable church has been getting so much praise. And now you can see how the Most High has worked. He has decreed that those churches are now to be closed. Their lies are to be closed. Their declarations of 80 books only are done. But we still have Hebrews out here still grasping that. And like I said, when I get comments of people that are saying, just pretty much parroting the same, limited amount of verses, talking about don't read much, but they never talk about 2 Ezra 14 at the end when it talks about how there's going to be other books given to the wise at the end. They don't talk about that. So someone's lying. Either 2 Ezra is not right, 14, and in the 40s talking about all these books that can be released at the end, or all these other verses were put in there by the church. It makes much more sense that the church would put those verses in about don't read any other books, because that's their dogma. That's the way they have pushed everything. They've pushed everything to keep people dumb and uninformed, even till today. So it makes much more sense that those were things that were put in, those kinds of verses were put in by the abominable church in order to keep people from reading. Because there's two totally opposing forces going on, even within the Bible. There's a few verses that talk about don't read any other books. And then there's one, prophecy in 2 Ezra 14 where it says there's going to be a whole lot of books given to wise people at the end. And that's exactly what is happening right now. So now it depends on, which camp you fall in. Do you fall into the group of people who don't want to read anything, who are just stuck with the 80 books that the Edomites gave you? Or are you in the other camp? Are you in the other group that's all about reading as much as we possibly can and letting the Spirit guide us? So I hope that this makes a whole lot of sense. And now this helps you to understand about, Egypt. Egypt is not always that one place, that they have set up over there in the Middle East. We also know that Egypt is all about bondage, and bondage came again in 1452 through Dum Diversas, and it's been until it changes. And we've been now the Most High is working to take us out of that bondage and give us everything back that we've lost. And many people are still crying to go back to Egypt, crying for things to be so-called normal, which is not going to happen again. All praise is to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.